Hello, and welcome to the Conscious Counsel Podcast with your host, Cory Sterling. What's up? That's me. I'm super excited that you're here and that you're choosing to spend your time with me, so I appreciate that. And welcome. The one thing I can promise you for sure is we're going to have a lot of fun. I've been a lawyer for heart-leading health and wellness entrepreneurs for 8 years. I've worked with more than 1,500 clients. I've seen all sorts of really interesting and unique situations unfold. And I've had a lot of practice, and my goal in creating this podcast is to share important information with you in a fun way that's going to help you protect and grow your wellness business with both confidence and clarity. That's what it's about. We all love health and wellness for the same reasons. We believe that by offering our services, by sharing our gift, by shining our light, we can create a community and make the world a healthier and happier place. And I think that we're all about that here. So I'm super happy that you've decided to join me and that we get to go on this adventure together. Now, what would you do if I told you that there was one idea that was the most important idea to understand about operating and protecting and growing your business with both confidence and clarity? There's one idea, the starting place of what we have to do. And that essential legal concept is the idea of understanding your legal position. So, what is your legal position? Why does it matter? And why am I choosing to spend this time for us being together to share the information? There are many misconceptions about how the law works. And before I went to law school and before I became a lawyer and before I was a lawyer practicing for more than 8 years, I was in the group of people who did not understand how the law really worked. And I thought that it was Suits, and I thought it was Jack Nicholson, You Can't Handle the Truth, and all of this amazing, exciting drama and good-looking people wearing clothes. But that's not the reality of how it really works. And luckily, in my business so far, in working with more than 1,500 clients, I've not had a single client who's used documents drafted by our law firm get sued, which is a big win for me. And the reason why, I believe one of the reasons for that is really understanding this concept of legal positioning. So the reason why you should care about understanding what your legal position is or what a legal position is because this is the key piece of information that will determine when an issue arises, how expensive that issue is going to be, how much stress that issue is going to cause, and how soon you'll be able to nip it in the bud and carry on with your life, because problems are going to happen. And when they do, we want to make sure that we're prepared for them and that we're proactive and that we're dealing with things by being in control of the situation. So essentially, your legal position is when a problem arises, what is the strength of your argument, essentially, in very basic terms, right? And so if you have a really strong argument and something happens, unfortunately, there's been an accident or someone wants a refund or someone wants to sue you or whatever big thing it is that's going on, if you have a strong legal position, you can very easily discard the situation, resolve it. It won't cost you a lot of money. And it's something that you can just essentially get rid of due to the strength of your legal position. So it's sort of one of those things that if and when you have a strong legal position, you're in control of the situation, something that otherwise could get very drawn out and be challenging and not fun and suck and cost a lot of money. And then you just cry on the phone with me all of the time, which we want to avoid as much as possible. It's all going to be determined by the strength of your legal position in a situation. So how is your legal strength determined? And it's going to be determined usually by what was signed in a contract by the parties. So the biggest thing that I've done in my career has been advise my clients to have industry-specific customized agreements. We call them agreements, not contracts. Industry-specific customized agreements that outline the type of relationship that you want to have with the person who you're signing a contract with, whether that's a client, whether that's a team member, whether that's a partner, whether it's a landlord, whoever it is. And you want that agreement to A, be at best legal practices. So basically be following the rules. And B, you want the agreement to put you in a position to succeed and be protected in the event a problem arises. So the reason why legal position, I'm going to tell you a story about why it's so important. And this really captures essentially all of it. So just taking a step back and remembering what is all of this about when a situation arises, because the timeline is always going to be the same for all of my clients who are going through a problem. You start the relationship, everything's awesome. Hopefully you even get to that everything's awesome phase. And then at some point there's a disagreement. Someone is injured. Someone feels they've been misclassified as a worker. Someone wants their money back. Someone is saying something different than they said before. And the way that we're going to determine how that issue, what the life of that issue is going to look like, is going to be determined by how strong the written agreement you have signed is. So when you have a customized, industry-specific agreement that outlines and protects your best interest, you have very, very strong legal position. So now I'm going to share a story about what happened with a client of mine who was running an online coaching program. And this could work for an online membership program, or even for a studio and a studio membership agreement. But this was an example of someone who had a relationship with their clients. They had offered the majority of their package. So they were doing some coaching work, and there were a couple of different milestones that we had in place. And the payment was structured so that the bulk of the payment would come at the end. This was the client's preference in creating it. Now, my client had provided the service, provided the materials, has been coaching, doing all of the things. And then one of the participants decided not to come to the last 2 sessions of the training, and then said, I want a refund. I didn't complete my certificate. I want my money back. You've taken my money. And everyone who's ever had a problem client knows what this is like. And then my client came to me and was like, hey, what do we do? And as a lawyer, just so everyone knows, I'll always have the same response when an issue or a problem arises. And I say the magic lawyer words, which are, please send me a copy of the signed agreement. So in this case, my client did an awesome job. They had the agreement that we drafted for them. It was signed, it was executed. And I wrote an email to the person who said, hey, I'm not paying, give me a refund. I want all my money back. I'm going to report you. And I was just able to say, hey, this is the contract that you signed. Provision 7.2 outlines the payment terms. You've agreed in this contract that even if you don't complete the course, that you still have to pay the amount, and that so long as my client is able to offer everything to you, the responsibility is yours to complete it. And if you do not, you still have to owe full payment. If you do not make payment to my client by X deadline, so we put in a deadline, we reserve the right to bring an action against you for the amount owing, plus damages, plus legal fees, plus everything. And we ended up getting paid almost immediately because the other person saw, okay, like I have no legal position. I signed this contract. I have no way out of this. I might as well comply. An interesting story. So that's a situation of something that could have been a problem and really frustrating was we were able to deal with in an email. Another situation I recently went through with a client is someone who signed up for a yoga teacher training. And the agreement that they signed with the studio was not a good agreement. It was not industry specific. They actually weren't following the rules, in this case, of Yoga Alliance. And it was generic and something that was copied probably from AI and ChatGPT, or just like a template that they got from a coach or something like that. And my client said, hey, they told me they were going to offer these services in a certain way. They ended up not doing it. Then there were all of these issues and I want a refund. So exact same issue where client's upset. In one case, my client is the studio owner, the coach. And in the other case, my client was the participant in a training. Same issue, wanting a refund, dissatisfied with services for whatever reason. In the first situation, we were able to rely on our legal position and the strength of our agreement to say, hey, you signed this. This is what it says. Therefore, you have to pay us. Otherwise, we're coming after you. And in that case, we collected the payment. In the second situation, when my client, who was the participant in a course, came to me and was like, hey, this is super unfair. They didn't deliver what they said they were going to do, and I want my money back. And I said the magic words, send me a copy of the signed agreement, please. And I'm very polite, so I do always say please. And they sent me the agreement, and the agreement was, in one word, garbage. It was a garbage agreement. Like I said, it was a template. It wasn't specific to the industry. It wasn't at best legal practices. And I said, cool, I'll take this on for you. And over a period of 5 weeks back and forth, the first email I said, here's a copy of the signed agreement that my client signed with you for the amount that they paid for the course. These are all of the things that are wrong with the agreement and proof that you're not at best legal practices. And in fact, this contract shouldn't even be enforceable for whatever reasons. And I won't get into the boring legal stuff, but ultimately my client got paid every single cent, and it was more than $6,000. And it's just the situation that comes from me when I think of that looking back. It's just legal positioning, because we were in one case, I was able to say, hey, my client has a really strong legal position, so pay up or we reserve the right to come after you. And in the second situation, my client had a strong legal position because the documents were so bad. And really what I hope that you take away from this and really understand is the importance of having the correct legal agreements, and how the legal agreements that you have are going to inform your legal position, and your legal position will determine how quickly you'll be able to resolve or get rid of a problem. So for me, it was so funny because these two situations happened in a very short period of time, close to each other. And it just emphasized for me really the need and the importance for having industry-specific agreements that are customized to your business and that are also at best legal practices. And the reason why I share this information with you, again, which is something that is just, I want to just make it so basic and so easy and so light and so fun for you. And this is fun because we're talking about protecting your business and keeping your money and growing your business and making your dreams come true. And I'm all about that. So many times I have to fix problems for people who have a very, very poor legal position. And the good news is getting a strong legal position is really easy. It's going to be determined by the strength of your documents, the customization of them to your business, and them abiding by legal practices. So if you're operating a business and you don't have agreements that are A, specific to you and your business, B, at best legal practices, updated to the newest rules, and C, are at industry standards, so are reflective of what's going on in the industry. If there's an issue, your legal position will be weak, and then there's a high likelihood that you'll run into a lot of problems. So the way to fix that is to work with an amazing, heart-leading lawyer who cares about you and understands the industry that you work in and wants to have your back. It's really, really simple, and it's something that can easily be taken care of. Anyone can find me on Instagram at Conscious Counsel. You can just shoot me a note and be like, hey, Cory, I'm not sure if I'm using the right agreement. Do you mind having a look over? And I'll be so happy to do that. And again, I just want to zoom out and share that the point of this podcast and the point of me sharing the information is that I want to help you grow and protect your business at best practices and with clarity and ease and fun. And the most simple starting place that we have to talk about is the strength of your legal position. And so when you have an industry-specific agreement that's customized to the relationships that you want to have and is at best legal practices, you've got a strong legal position, and then the world is your oyster. You can do anything. When and if problems come up, you're in a position to take care of it. So all of it is shared with love, and really, I just want to get this information through to you because there's so many situations that I have to fix for clients that is unfortunate and really, really expensive and breaks my heart because it could so easily be prevented. Having said that, feel free to find me on Instagram at Conscious Counsel. Sometimes I post pictures of my travels, and sometimes I post important information about the law. So you can join along for both at Conscious Counsel. And whatever it is that you do, make sure you are working with a lawyer who loves you.